The flashing lights painted the sidewalk red and blue, turning an ordinary evening into a public spectacle. People slowed their cars, phones appeared in trembling hands. In the center stood a young woman in a simple navy dress, her grocery bag at her feet. "Step aside, ma'am," one officer said sharply, barely glancing at her face. "You're obstructing an investigation." She hadn't raised her voice, she hadn't argued, she had only asked a question. "Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening." Her name was Elena Morales. To the crowd, she looked ordinary, no uniform, no badge, no symbols of authority. Just a woman walking home from work who had stopped when she saw officers questioning a teenage boy near her apartment building. The boy's hands trembled. He looked no older than 16. Elena had recognized him as Marcus, the quiet kid. "What's going on?" she had asked calmly. "None of your concern," another officer replied, louder this time. "Unless you're involved." A ripple of murmurs moved through the growing crowd. Elena felt heat rise to her cheeks, not from embarrassment but frustration. She had spent years in courtrooms defending the rights of people who couldn't defend themselves. She knew the law. She knew the limits of authority, but in that moment, she was simply a woman being dismissed. "Am I being detained?" she asked evenly. The question seemed to irritate them more. One officer stepped closer, his voice edged with impatience. "You think you know the law?" Elena's pulse quickened. She could feel the eyes on her, the weight of public scrutiny. A part of her wanted to reveal who she was, to end the humiliation, to silence the tone, but another part hesitated, because this wasn't just about her, it was about how quickly assumptions were made, how easily power could become pride. The officers continued questioning Marcus, their voices firm but not cruel. Still, the scene felt wrong, unbalanced. Elena noticed the way Marcus kept glancing at her, searching for reassurance. She stepped slightly forward again. "He has the right to know why he's being stopped," she said quietly. The response was swift. "Back up, ma'am, last warning." A bystander whispered, "Why doesn't she just leave?" Another muttered, "She's making it worse." Elena swallowed. She felt the sting of public doubt now layered over official dismissal. It would be so easy to walk away. No one would blame her, but she thought of the countless defendants she had represented, people who had stood alone, while others chose comfort over courage. Her voice remained steady. "You need reasonable suspicion to detain him. What is it?" Silence flickered between the officers. The lead officer's jaw tightened. "Ma'am, if you continue interfering, you'll be placed in cuffs." The words hung heavy in the air. Phones recorded. A child across the street clutched her mother's hand. Elena felt fear then, real fear, not for her career, but for the escalation she could sense building like a summer storm. She measured her next breath carefully, then she reached into her bag, slowly, deliberately. The officers tensed. She pulled out a slim leather wallet and opened it, holding it at chest height. The badge inside caught the flashing lights. "My name is Elena Morales," she said calmly. "I am the district attorney for this county." The shift was immediate. The air changed. The crowd's murmurs turned to stunned silence. The lead officer blinked, then stepped back. "Ma'am." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't smirk. There was no triumph in her expression, only composure. "Officer," she continued, "I wasn't interfering. I was ensuring constitutional procedure." Marcus looked between them, confusion slowly melting into relief. The other officers straightened, embarrassment flickering across their faces. Apologies followed, careful, formal, measured, but Elena didn't dwell on them. Instead, she turned to Marcus. "You're free to go," she said gently. "And next time, remember you have rights." As the patrol car's lights dimmed and the crowd dispersed, Elena felt responsibility. She could have revealed her identity sooner. She could have ended the humiliation instantly, but she had needed to see something, to understand something. Authority without humility is dangerous, and humility without courage is silent. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Elena replayed the scene. She wasn't angry, she wasn't proud, she was thoughtful, because the real victory hadn't been the badge, it had been the restraint, the choice to remain calm, the refusal to let power become ego. The next morning, she requested a meeting with the department, not to punish, but to discuss training and communication, growth over embarrassment, correction over revenge. Marcus would likely never forget that night. Neither would the officers, and neither would Elena, because respect isn't commanded by titles, it's earned by conduct. Never mistake quiet confidence for ordinary. Sometimes the strongest authority stands calmly in the storm, waiting for the right moment to speak. If this story made you reflect on power, fairness, or courage, tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And if you believe true strength is shown through calm integrity, subscribe to Cinematic Whispers for more stories that reveal the extraordinary hidden in the ordinary.